on the fly, it feels like, when drafting.
Speaking of on the fly drafting is what we're going to have, because it is Brax's holdout picked up here by Tempo Storm. They lost game number 1, and Tempo Storm Dreadnought, I have to point out this stat because I've never seen a disparity. It's something you and I covered during Phase 1, but it's only further emphasized here in Phase 2. During Part 1, they played 15 games as the second pick. They love map pick. They went 13-2. 13-2 for an 86-87% win rate. When they are first pick, they were average 5-5. They love to have control of the battleground. They love to have strategies incorporated. They did drop game number 1 on their best battleground, but now they still want that second pick, and they still want control of the strategies, and they're taking us to Braxis.
I will say, out of all the things that Tempo Storm does as a roster, the one element that I still absolutely adore on their approach to technique and strategy is their map selection decision-making. I think that they are one of the few that understand some of the huge advantages you gain from the second pick slot, not only when it comes to pick bans, just straight up when it comes to strategizing for the pick bans, because I have so much more in control than you do, and more importantly, I can choose, again, unprofitable mapped battlegrounds for myself and then end up taking a not-so-bad loss here, so we're a big win later on down in the match series. So Tempo, in my opinion, a lot of North America should be taking a page out of that notebook.
I want to see what drafts we get, because this is a map that we know Heroes Hearth will run these solo support Abathur. They've done it. We've seen these types of rotations. When we talked to them at the Clash, they told me that Rexar was retired, but they have run it on this battleground in the past before. So Heroes Hearth, I don't think, is any bit foreign to this style of drafting, this style of play. I think it's very much for them to say, hey, you know what, we're comfortable here too. They're clearly comfortable on Dragonshire with the Abathur composition. There's got to be a lot in store here.
There very much will be. Phoenix has got to be something we consider to be a major problem. The general thought process last time, I believe we found ourselves on Brax's holdout for North America versus North America. Still seems to be it's a 1-3-1 with a 3-man kill potential, maybe a 3-2 split in the downtime. Personally, I actually think it's funny. The map works a lot like Dragonshire with its rotations. Not the exact same, because the middle section doesn't have the easeability with the transitions, and jumping over walls makes it really, really, again, kind of time effective. But for the most part, I do think that a lot of the same parameters are going to apply here. And so I think Heroes Hearth probably has the upper hand.
It does feel like the mobility factor between the Genji. We know Murden loves, and we don't really see Murden banned during the first slot, but it is teams that have that 1-3-1, that 3-man gank squad. Murden oftentimes is a big element to that, as is a hero like Karazim. So I'm curious, how deep down do we go in that rabbit hole to say, hey, we've got these unique strategies, we've got these unique heroes that we can come out with, and what you can do to counter that? Because again, if the Abathur is let through, I guarantee one of these teams is picking it. I will say the last time Team Freedom, when we saw them on Braxis, they went Cho'Gall. The last time that we saw Tempo Storm face off against Heroes Hearth, it was Tomb of the Spider Queen. They went Cho'Gall. I think this is a Cho'Gall-ish map, but the way the strategies have evolved, I'm just saying, the precursor is out there. I'm not thinking that it will happen, but if it does happen, I wouldn't be surprised.
I expect it to just be wild, to be honest. Braxis holdout always brings the greatest of cheese. Not cheese so much, I guess, as it is unique strategies, just based on how this battleground is so uniquely weighted. Medivh is one of those heroes, Genji, as you said. I am curious with the Murden too, because the Murden hasn't even been that high a priority for either one of these teams. So now on Braxis holdout, how does that change? Does he become first pick worthy? Because considering a majority of the year last year, Braxis holdout, he was the first pick first ban. Phoenix taken away, no Planet Cracker to rid of the Zerg Rush, and there is the Abathur. So who is the first pick?
Would it be something as simple as Yrel?
I think so. Yrel's individual sustain mixed with the control and the hammer knockback, like, it's actually disgusting to give up. Not even considering the heroic trade-offs post-10. The only problem is if you're worried about the laning matchup and the 3-2, which they're not, Heroes Hearth end up getting commitment. It's either that or Jimmy. I think he's one of the few within this meta that exists and kind of caters towards Braxis holdout. I mean, how many backliners can you say have consistent DPS as consistent and good as Jimmy? And you need that around the shrine. And he has his own sustain. It's not great, but it's every 45 seconds, you're like, yeah, I can just self-heal. Like, that is, again, a tool that you might be able to rely on those skirmishes. No Rainer, at least not yet. We get Maiev and the Murden here for Tempo Storm.
Just waiting for it to spring up. Sergeant Hammer. So more meta, and it pairs very well with the Deckard. We know that you can just top Sergeant Hammer off, potion after potion. And then after some potions, you know what you get else? More potions.
Potions, potions, and more potions.
So this is a very standard style of play with a Sergeant Hammer Urel Deckard. Does lean towards just hanging around and not worrying about too much.
Yeah, Tempo, they have a lot that they need to do in this draft, I feel like, based on those first 3 picks. With the lane control, the team fighting synergy that they have as a unit, from all angles right now, I look at HeroesHearth Esports and I go, it's hard for you to lose this game. Heroes that can change that. Medivh, already off the battleground. Zeratul, not one of the best battlegrounds for him to play into, especially when you already had the Maiev on your team. Warden's Cage was the Void Prison. It's not impossible, but the amount of synergy mixed with the rotations, it feels like it'll lack too much either in wave clear or, again, predictability of the team fight. So, and other than that, you just go, no, we're pretty good. Maybe a Nazeebo, but not a battleground where you say Nazeebo has that much value. So Tempo, the Malfurion is there for the follow-up, but who's really going to do the damages here? And I feel like they have to wait.
Gul'dan, maybe? Even then, I really don't.
Chromie, that's the answer. How do we feel about that?
Well, this is Chromie changes. But Sergeant Hammer...
Didn't you make the joke she was removed from the game yesterday?
Definitely, no.
No? Okay.
Definitely did not say she was removed, but I might have said she was removed.
From the game.
Just not against Hammer.
But she's here. She's here. She's here to be able to deal with the Sergeant Hammer.
I think it's really only one of the matchups that you can feel comfortable in. So Falstad the pickup. We're going to get a Garrosh to hold point. I think the one thing that really does work, obviously, even if you have Hover Siege, you can't dodge the W from Chromie. And her Q has faster cast time, so it is easier to land. There are some other changes around that, getting the Echo and things of that nature. She did get buffed, I believe, this week, but we are not on that patch yet. So some of those damage buffs are not in play yet.
Really like the Falstad pick. That provides a lot of laning opportunities to be able to have laning mismatches and provides that individual sustain post 4 with the hammer gains. Pretty much, I'm a fanboy of HeroesHearth Esports draft from beginning to end here.
There was, I mean, looking down, I'm disappointed Tempo, they have 4 heroes that started with the letter M. We just needed a damage dealer. Instead we got Chromie. Almost had it.
Almost.
I mean, that's high-level analysis right there, Dreadnought. Again, the Chromie pickup, you know, when it comes to the wave clear, if a Zerg wave is picked up, I do worry about the clear. Obviously, slowing sands might be enough to thwart a potential onslaught, but I don't think Hammer really cares about that because Hammer tends to outrange stuff like that. Obviously, Garrosh. Chromie was once the Garrosh counter in the sense that Garrosh lacks mobility and he's just a stationary target. You can hit him all day. Now you've got Hammer there. So there are opportunities for Chromie to find value in this trap.
Yeah, I think it is going to be interesting. I think if Tempo is successful, it's purely off the Chromie getting picks where they didn't expect, or I don't expect it within the lane. I just expect Hammer to apply so much pressure fast enough that it really becomes kind of who really cares at this point, right? Like, yeah, okay, 1 kill on bottom, but have you seen your top 4? That seems to be the trade-off here, but we'll find out. It is going to be interesting. But one specific pickup here for Tempo Storm that I've got to ask is from that guy right there. Glaurung onto the Malthael. Second game we've had Glaurung on Malthael, and though that has been, since his transition to the offlane, one of his more prominent heroes, I can't help but feel like, not only because this game Dahaka was an option, a battleground where it's kind of successful, but then also purely just based on the fact that, you know, we get the Malthael again, it just feels like the hero pool seems a little bit off here, at least in this current meta.
I mean, you look at the available options. Dahaka was there, and it does give you the global to potentially get ganks, get onto the backliner of something like a Hammer or a Deckard, but this map, obviously, different choke points, different ways to get onto that backline, as we already see a 4-man rotation. As it looks like Urel's going to man the solo position. Chromie will likely trade places, and I think one of the key concerns there, obviously, is Malthael. When you have the Falstad on the opposite side, it does open up gank opportunities against something like a Malthael, where Deckard might be able to walk away. And we also have Wingman build coming in here for Falstad for more single target damage.
A little bit out too far for a moment there for Crowan, but BBJ, scroll ceiling and a potion, going to be able to heal it back up. It's actually wild to me, because I would argue in this current meta where it stands, you know, where we get Glaurung moving over to the Malthael, I'd rather Zeratul in most of those situations. Not all of them, obviously, but looking at the current meta, if you're not going to go with an offlane warrior or somebody with a large amount of individual sustain and crowd control and manipulation there, you have to make up for it through gap closing and just raw damage output. Malthael, he's all right at it, but he doesn't have that burst and the Void Prison impact into the team fight. So it just feels very Chinese, which is not something I normally say, right? Like, especially when looking at North America. They're one of the only regions that is holding on to the Malthael.
Well, the Chromie pickup, the damage is coming in. So Chromie's level 1 talent, you do get bonus damage onto your Sandblast. And also if you hit 3 in a row, it counts as hitting 3 targets. And so far, that baseline quest is already up to 12 because, well, frankly, it's pretty easy to land those right now.
And then Arthlon looking for the offlane pressure in the downtime wherever he can. Post 4, as I said, that's going to be a little bit more difficult for Tempo Storm to deal with because he's going to have hammer gains as Glorong trying to take that trade for now. And that, I think that highlights exactly our fears from beginning to end perfectly. It's like, okay, Glorong, you're not losing, but you're definitely not winning over that bottom lane, and it's what that off lane provides for the Falstad Yrel. Ended up getting a full back here. Bottom is going to be dealt with for HeroesHearth Esports here. And Tempo maintain their control with the 1-4 on top.
Bronze talents, baseline now for Chromie, but you have to land the ability. It's no longer just casting it. And we do see Draconic Barrage, which now you get the double stack there, so increasing the damage. And Chromie does have an interesting auto attack range now. Still doesn't outrange the Sieging Hammer, but it does warrant a slightly different playstyle to land the abilities and then also step forward and get some auto attacks in with that built-in bronze talents.
Ishbu taking a lot of damage there. McIntyre comes in with the slam. Vin eats a groundbreaker. Hammerstone going to come through along with the flip over. Vin now trying to scoot his way out there with those little feet, but they can only move so fast, Jayhao.
Yeah, you know, oftentimes I hear like, Jayhao, you're so tall, you should be able to run so fast.
Yeah.
And then I argue like, the larger the mass, the more energy it takes to move it. I'm not Superman.
So you're trying to say Chromie should be hella quick?
Technically, you know, I mean, there is something to be said about having some height, but yeah, Chromie needs to work on them sprinting skills.
Arthlon unable to make it out of this. I was actually going to say for a moment there, Tempo Storm should easily have been able to get that kill, but the barrel roll dodge was a little bit too much, and now it might cost Tempo Storm as the hammer is there. Glorong has nothing to retreat to for a moment, but June is going to be there with the root. Now McIntyre second guessing if that's a place he wants to be.
Wow.
The answer is nope. A tether back, and Tempo, a lot of control here. After a very interesting initiation and just honestly just trades back and forth.
The Maiev clearly having an impact here in the early game. Couple of picks on that engagement.
Something we posed yesterday when watching HeroesHearth against Endemic is the Maiev a problem for HeroesHearth Esports? In a lot of the games where, you know, we had seen them at the Western Clash, it seemed like the Maiev was going to be the kryptonite for them. And yesterday, it did feel like whenever they got against a Maiev, they underestimated how often you'd see that follow-up from the Shadow into a tether and set up kills for the team. For now, at least kind of showing itself once more. But HeroesHearth Esports definitely not getting as much pressure towards this top lane, or even really the bottom lane, considering the Falstad matchup. I feel like that they necessarily would have liked here in the early game.
My favorite part about that disengage, which we ended up cutting away just a split second, is when you disengage with Sergeant Hammer and you go the Unstoppable at level 4 and you booster away, you can knock back the Muradin right away, or you can wait till that Muradin, because that Muradin is waiting for that Unstoppable to wear off. You wait till that goes and then you hit the knockback. That way he can't make up that distance. And it was a really good play, a small micro play by Kron, but if you are playing Sergeant Hammer in the current meta, which she's super strong, it's kind of like a small play that you need to learn to adapt to on when to use those abilities. I think that was a really good example right there by Kron.
For anybody wondering why Sergeant Hammer is maybe so good in the meta as she currently stands beyond the self-cleanse, difficult to get on top of, ridiculous amount of damage, everything like that, it's turret ammo removal. Since the turret ammo removal, we don't have that drain the ammo, take the front wall. The only heroes in the game that are able to constantly force pressure onto your map without ammo being a problem is Sylvanas and Sergeant Hammer. Hate to break it to you, Jayhao. Sylvanas is not the same beast that she used to be. Hold up, tether onto Mac. Will he be able to get the passive use? No, not even close there. Ishbu able to dodge the kite, the Stormbolt there for a moment, but still that massive damage coming out from that passive on Glorong. Arthlon trying to buy a little bit of room for him, but unable to do so. Tempo Storm is just obliterating this bottom lane.
Just like you obliterated my heart with that Sylvanas comment, as Tempo Storm gaining control here, 5-1 in those kills. Despite the hammer damage, Tempo Storm between those kills and now getting that fort down momentarily in the bot lane, starting to establish control in the experience department, as this will push them, should push them past 9 as that does fall just past 9. There's not going to be the trade out for HeroesHearth to get this. Also, Chromie did finish the baseline. No longer infinite stacking. That's the main thing. And so you do get the reward. So you get the Echo.
BBJ is going to eat the tether. Stormbolt yet to throw out, but there's the Into the Fray to buy a little bit of time. Flip over and Groundbreaker for onto Cattle, eating full damage from that Lightning Rod out from Arthlon, but no kill to be gained here. HeroesHearth trying to make something happen before the 10 spike picked up. Control over bottom, control over top here in a second, as long as Cattle cannot make it on. Not too much percentage to be gained here.
Level 10. Close here for Tempo Storm. Ishbu just trying to hold point. We saw the rotation up by Malthael, contemplating there, of course, with that on a Pale Horse. Does have those quick rotations from top to bottom if needed, but now going to that bot lane, trying to get level 10, see if they can force something after that. Maybe finally get control of these beacons, because right now 6% to 6%, Dreadnought, 7 minutes in.
But Tempo Storm looks at this and they go, we're winning. And based on the fact that then not only were you able to win when it comes to the structures on the bottom half of the battleground with those kills, but HeroesHearth has done essentially nothing with their 3-2 split. They have taken a turret on top, or bottom, and a front wall on the top half. Whereas Tempo, again, was able to get fights that you shouldn't expect from them, and now they can bring the team fight here on a full 5-on-5. So as long as this extends, Tempo Storm isn't too concerned. I feel like not something I expected to say here in this game, at least when looking at the draft. Crowan will eat a tether. There's that self-cleanse. And he just scoots himself right out.
Oh, Sergeant Hammer. Oh, Sergeant Hammer.
It's not Medivh, but it's close enough. Actually, that's not true. I love Hammer far more than Medivh or Tyrande, for that matter.
Well, HeroesHearth is bought enough time, Dreadnought. They've picked up level 10 for themselves. I really expected Napalm Strike for the potential clear onto a Zerg Wave. Instead, we're getting BFG for maybe more team fight potential.
I really like the fact that we do get the BFG, though. Having that individual burst for a Malfurion support is a little bit more difficult to deal with compared to the Napalm. Although, as you said, the Napalm Clear is one of the best that we have in Heroes of the Storm. 3-2 split, again, between the two teams. Malfurion and Murden, though, making the transition down. HeroesHearth able to make it out just clean, as Crowan now going to apply the pressure towards top. This is going to continue, ladies and gentlemen, until HeroesHearth gets the Tempo gets the fight that they want. And if history repeats itself, HeroesHearth will just wipe, and then you're going to see a huge Zerg rush against them. That is why I keep saying HeroesHearth, I think, has the responsibility of making a play here, especially after that Gust attempt.
Yeah, just a tad late there. You could see that he tried to gust them away to buy time for Garrosh to make his way in and maybe control that point. Unable to do so, though.
So Ishmu looking to move up. Two members of HeroesHearth looking to get a clear on bottom. Taunt actually thrown down. Flip over the wall, not going to be used, but the Groundbreaker is thrown. Tempo now just going to recollect. This is the musical chairs of Braxis holdout here, J-How. Sadly, Sergeant Hammer, I feel like, enforces this playstyle very heavily.
Falstad, 3 stacks on that Wingman, so 15% bonus damage so far. If you get that ramped up, it is a significant amount of damage, but we don't see it built in at level 7 for that extra range. Try and get that. There are some other options as we get later here.
Huge collapse from HeroesHearth. First time of the game they're looking to make a play, and it looks like Fan is the focus. Ishbu looking for a bit of peel there onto BBJ. He's going to be fine as the Gust splits out Glaurung completely from the rest of the squad here. He needs to be able to get a teleport back, but McIntyre with that hammer, not going to let that happen. Glaurung is out of here, but a lot of percentage picked up by Tempo Storm. Arthlon now going to fly towards top to pick that up for himself. Ishbu claiming the bottom for HeroesHearth, and this should be a lot of responsive percentage here, as Vin should not be able to hit pretty much any spells on Arthlon, at least not till this tether comes in.
Ooh, just in time there, but dropping bombs on the way out is Vin on that Chromie. Ishbu gonna find a welcoming party, tosses Cattle back, gets the stun. McIntyre and team, they start to walk over. Ishbu with the sidestep. You can't sidestep the tether, you can only walk towards it. Now we're seeing the damage coming in. Surviving for now is Ishbu, and they get the kill onto June on the backside. And HeroesHearth finally getting that kill, getting that control here that they've been looking for. Now they have control of the beacons. at least momentarily.
That was a really great job by BBJ, understanding that he could be able to make those plays over that wall with the Harajic Cube, its scroll of ceiling, and the Lornado. It wasn't the absolute, you know, kind of cutting edge level of play there, but I feel like that's one of those differences, I feel like, from his entrance here towards the HGC onto that support role. It very much showing that, you know, he's coming up for these big plays and understanding when those cooldowns are going to be very much worth it. Back online in 5 more seconds, the Lornado will be here. And now HeroesHearth have this advantage with the pressure on the top half, going to abuse the siege capabilities here of Sergeant Hammer, force the 13 talent tier advantage. But Jay-How, this just sets the map back to even. This is, again, HeroesHearth gaining ground to try and find themselves on the same footing that Tempo has been on.
This is where we get to see kind of the changes on how effective Chromie can be. Again, without that infinite stacking, you used to be able to just sit there, stack up, and you couldn't eat those shots. But now, knowing the changes to Chromie, it allows something different. Right now, we're looking for a 5-on-5 team fight. Tempo Storm, they're coming in. They want to force the advantage, have control of both beacons. But Ishbu, remember the changes to Braxis. Once you walk onto the point, it's instantly contested as Ishbu holds point for now.
Eats quite a bit of damage, able to get the juke there. Arthlon actually sharking his way down towards bottom, is looking to pick up that control over that beacon. He will do so. Fan is able to take this trade, see if he can force a gust. Is Glarong now getting the collapse? They do not want Arthlon to be able to make it out here. He has to gust early before the tether opportunity. He uses it there after the passive goes down. And now Tempo returns back to the 5-man.
Yeah, we see a change-up. I mean, I thought we might see more into that Lightning Rod build. Instead, we actually see the cooldown reduction. Hold on, as we got some damage coming in here, as Ven's starting to really ramp up with these Chromie shots. And again, getting that in Bronze Talons implemented into your baseline, it's definitely starting to show itself as these autos come out behind that, especially with that Echo. Jordan, I want to go back to the BBJ point, because it was a point where it's like, all right, you know, we don't have high expectations, but we want more. And so far, he's been able to do more. And as he's evolved, it's been really stand out for this team as we get the potential dash in, and we get that. There's going to be the Warden's Cage. We'll get to that later. Glaurung going to be the first to get blown up. Cattle trying to walk away, does have that Warden's Cage to the disengage. Falstad's going to fly up, go ahead and take control of that top beacon while the rest of HeroesHearth sees if they can find. But for BBJ, the way that he's evolved throughout the year, most notably in HGC, I love the way he plays, but more importantly, Dreadnought, as I spend more and more time with the guy, I love the way he carries himself, the way he is for this team. He's the guy that the rest of the team, they have the mantra of, look, we're going to get better, but he's also the one with a slight chip on his shoulder to where he feels good. He's confident in his team, and I love the way he carries himself and that part about him.
I love him as well, purely because every time I talk down on his support play, he's just like, you know what? I'm going to do better next time, / just prove you wrong, / I think you're wrong. So I love it. You know, he's willing to stand his ground, and as you said, the evolution of the performance of BBJ has been, I don't want to say collusion level, because I think he has had the best transition I've seen out of any player ever, but absolutely is a very good transition over to the support role. Also, one thing to note, Tempo Storm has a very peculiar eye for Arthlon here, and I don't think it's inaccurately placed. I do think he is very much the player that is going to get caught out, but it seems like it's almost sold on purely not the who's out of position. It's just Arthlon is going to be trying to find him in some way, shape, or form here. Over the past 3 initiations, it has been Glaurung plus somebody else trying to hunt him down. It's a great job there from Arthlon, making sure that that hasn't happened outside of, you know, maybe one force gust.
Well, 15 minutes in, we get our first Zerg wave. Again, with Chromie, your wave clear isn't anything great. I mean, we have the cooldown reduction for Falstad to throw out multiple hammerings with that boomerang pickup. Obviously, we've seen a step up in the wave clear for Maiev, but it is it's not a short cooldown. So now we get the siege up potential. Crowan going in, and they're going to siege up with this hammer.
16 is the biggest thing here. Glaurung actually getting flipped over in just one shot. My goodness, every single time he walks up to Ishbu, he legitimately gets served on a platter to the rest of HeroesHearth Esports, saying, would you like to just take this kill for free? That was beautifully done, and the siege here is still going to continue for HeroesHearth Esports. Though they get the kill here, Jay-How. Structurally speaking,
that's
not too much to write home,
right?
Not too much to write home about. And when really looking at the entirety of it all, HeroesHearth, they do maintain the lead, but they have to do something with this 16 spike, and they have the tools. They have a hammer, which is one of the few compositions, but based on how little HeroesHearth got in the laning situation, levels 1 through 9 with the Sergeant Hammer, I think it's a little bit unreliable to say, yeah, they're going to make something happen here through this spike.
If I had a hammer, I'd hammer in the morning.
Would you?
I'd hammer in the evening.
Yeah?
I don't suppose they taught you that song in grade school?
No,
If I had a hammer. No?
Remember when I got told somehow my singing voice would make its way onto the mic, and you got baited into singing?
Don't tempt me. Do not tempt me. That Mighty Gust was pretty much necessary there for Arthlon to make sure that he had safety. I wasn't sure if he had the barrel roll, but barrel roll does not escape the clutches of a tether, which may or may not have been able to come in there, but find out for another day. Is 16 to 15, and Tempo Storm is on the prowl. Arthlon gonna use that flight down. He baited him up there. You said they want Arthlon.
I told you.
But now it might come at the expense of a clear push down here towards the bottom keep.
Yeah, if you look at the last 3 initiations, it was clear. Their body language was not, hey, this person might be out of position. It was, you know, I'm going to go ahead and say it, like kind of like old playing against Kenma. A lot of people would have the thought process, wait until he walks up to you and dies, because that is likely going to happen. Find Kenma. And Arthlon seems to be the focus for now.
That level of savagery.
You know, I think there's been enough time, and it's a level of honesty that I think is fair.
Ooh, there's the self-cleanse. Krohn timed that well. It's the Warden's Cage, not able to keep multiple people in, but there's going to be the last right. That's going to be Krohn going down, and now we might see the pursuit continuing to go in. The Mighty Gust will buy the disengage, but not before that kill. Tempo Storm gets level 16. That's a kill that they have been desperately needing, and you know what? No Gust. They're like, you don't have boss control. We've got boss control as they turn their attention towards this boss here in the middle.
I got a guy named Decker Kane that might like to say something else about that in 10 more seconds. But Tempo looks like they might have the race before that could even be a threat. HeroesHearth Esports not questioning anything there. Great blind dwarf toss from Caterpillar, realizing, hey, they're going to be on the camp. I can go ahead, buy this little bit of time, see if Ishbu stays out too far. Glarong here is looking for the pressure as the bottom keep is actually getting backdoored by Arthlon.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing. Is like, is this going to be worth it? Arthlon's like, you know what, this is fine.
That auto attack hadn't gotten the kill there. That would have been one dead bird. That was close. Clutch play there from Arthlon, able to fly out. And they get the keep. Mission accomplished.
Yeah, and the only other thing, that boss will get some damage in, but it will not net the same amount of value. As, we'll see what they can do with it. Maybe get some Zerg control, which will be long-term value, but right now the boss undefensible. This Falstad did have to fly back. Sergeant Hammer will be in defense momentarily. We got some epic music for an epic game right now, Dreadnought. Woo!
Just suddenly we got Braxis hold out real quick. Here we are, siege up with the boss towards this top half. Once the gate goes down, see if Cattle wants to get a bit more aggressive. Ishbu actually going in after the root being forced with the Lornado. Timeout being dropped there by Vin, so no escape opportunities for him as the Stormbolt mixed with the Chromie damage lands onto Crowan. Tempo Storm here now at the keep, need to be able to pick this up for themselves and restore balance when it comes to the structures. McIntyre misses the initiation. Gust comes out. No Warden's Cage follow-up, at least not yet.
Oh, Tempo wants this, and I think they're going to get it. I think they have gotten the value out of this boss I did not anticipate. I really wondered, because Arthlon's sitting on 45% bonus damage on his Lightning Rod. In this stage of the game, that is a lot of damage. He didn't go the 7 and 13 talents, but it still does dish out a lot of single target damage. Unable to accomplish much. Still early for these catapults to really work their way through those shields, but will warrant a response here in a moment.
Top now gained control here for HeroesHearth. And as we said, somebody's got to go back and display themselves. Glarong seems like he's going to be the volunteer for that. That comes at a couple of costs of percentage, not only to the core damage there for Tempo Storm, now sitting at 71, but also the Zerg Rush, counting up to, looks like 6 is where we land. And now back to the musical chairs. But Tempo Storm don't have the same situation here, J-Hal. Bottom keep down mixed with Catapult pressure. Eventually, they're going to have to face a back door. So bottom lane is their worst nightmare. Caterpillar moves up. Indomitable was used there by Ishbu, dodging both the Stormbolt and the Tether.
That's a really good steal, because it denies one of the camps that could potentially buy time in that bottom lane to deal with those catapults. So now that puts Tempo Storm on a different clock, a different rotational, and that rotational advantage now in favor of HeroesHearth, because HeroesHearth has the experience lead, barring a kill or something unfortunate for HeroesHearth, will win that race towards 20, do have that control over that bot lane now without much in the way of defensive options for Tempo Storm. So for Tempo Storm, it feels like they're just waiting to try and get a pick.
With how consistently they've chosen Arthlon to be that person, I feel like they need to find a new target here. Because at this point, it's pretty predictable for him to be able to understand the rotations that they're going to try and make happen. And as we said, the bottom being such a big problem, if you're HeroesHearth Esports, you just keep pressure on the top half of the battleground, wait till you see Tempo make a rotation out, then say, okay, we'll backdoor, wait till they make the mistake and put them on that clock, as we have kind of alluded to. It's very important that for HeroesHearth to make that happen, though, they need to control top and then split pressure towards that bottom beacon control.
How far do you think Arthlon's willing to push out to make that happen?
I would be willing to say at least the Knights on the left-hand side, not the right, of your mini-map.
I really wonder if we get the epic mount just so he can maybe escape some of those clutches. We might have a pre-20 fight. McIntyre caught out here momentarily, but does have that Divine Steed able to escape the clutches, but they do need HeroesHearth does need to rotate back up to the top here, establish some control. Hammer did make it on point before Cattle could get that stun in for a few extra percentage points.
Look at Maev. They're done with this musical chairs. They're going to full flank here. Fan has the Warden's Cage opportunity. Does he go for the full follow-up? Lands a two-man tether along with the Warden's Cage, locking down Arthlon and BBJ. That Gus is a bit of a whiff there as the last rights come through and gets the kill onto Deckard. Kane, Fan making the plays here for the team. McIntyre trying to stop the bleeding here. But much like game one, Jay, how HeroesHearth seem like they are struggling to be able to close out these games, and suddenly it becomes chaos as Tempo deathball onto the other side.
That is surprising to me that they were willing to commit so much to that defense without the Yrel, which they had just lost. And now we're looking at a boss. The important thing to note here, as Garrosh does maintain control of that top beacon, is that this boss will push the bot lane. Conveniently enough for Tempo Storm. Well, that's where their Zerg wave is.
Surprised not a bit more offense there after the trap. I guess Yrel is threatening them back enough for nobody wanting to risk anything here. 3 catapults going to be there. That is percentage damage onto the core.
Backdoor the core 2 games in a row. No big deal.
Sounds like it's Fnatic all over again, man.
Sounds like Dragonshire all over again. And there's Arthlon. There's the Lightning Rod value. Of course, stacked up that Wingman. Has done a significant amount of damage. There was some core damage, minor core damage done, but hold on a second. There's going to be self-cleanse. There's going to be a taunt even by Ishbu. Ishbu's caught out here on Garrosh, trying to get some help. Does sidestep that, does get some armor from Yrel as well, and survives that onslaught. And in the meantime, Tempo Storm right on cue picks up level 20.
And all the while, Arthlon actually used the epic mount to fly towards top, so they knew that that was not going to be a 5-on-5 skirmish. But again, I want to bring this back, Jay, how HeroesHearth is afraid to win these games back-to-back. Their decision-making is not a, hey, lose-lose scenario trade-off. They are just going, hey, we are unwilling to take this even fight or even trade in a lot of these situations or even poke and prod. They're willing to risk situations like McIntyre, again, with these epic mounts and things of the like. We'll find out, though, here as another stun comes out onto Ishbu, falling extremely low. McIntyre seems to be the focus, along with Glorong, who gets, Fan actually gets a tether back, locking down 2. Stormbolt.
Oh my goodness, Cattle comes in, the instant follow-up by Vin, not enough. As we get the toss out, McIntyre holding point. This is going to be a Zerg wave now coming in, and that is the bot lane. HeroesHearth is in full retreat mode right now. There are catapults to deal with the small push that we have from HeroesHearth. The Zerg wave should win out there, but the main concern is how slow this keep is here for HeroesHearth.
But if you're HeroesHearth Esports, you're going, it's only a matter of time before I get that top keep with my Zerg rush, and maybe Arthlon can get the back door if that's going to be a problem. They have Gus available. They have Lornado to buy a little bit of time. Caterpillar moves up, lands a 2-man Stormbolt. Groundbreaker thrown out by Ishbu. The keep already gone. Now Tempo Storm again look to march towards the core. We'll see if they can make it happen this time. Unlike game one, they land the Stormbolt. Damage onto McIntyre. Ardent Defender is going to be there.
Bubble Hearth.
20 Bubble Hearth.
There we go. That's one way to stay alive. They're holding for now as Crowan pushing out, getting that damage out on Sergeant Hammer. But here comes Fan again. There's going to be the unstoppable. Fan does get the Warden's Cage down, but it's not enough to lock multiple people in place. And Ishbu goes in. There's going to be the toss. There's going to be the lockdown. That's going to be kill number 1. But they trade out 1 for 1 so far. The BFG comes in for the kill shot.
It ends up landing and getting the kill there onto June. Keep in mind, Arthlon does have the opportunity to epic mount as he's trying to get more aggressive with this positioning and cut off the retreat there. Not having enough mana nor a Gus to be able to make the huge play. But HeroesHearth Esports answered the call of Tempo Storm in game number 1 on that epic siege, and again here on Brax's holdout.
Whew. 2 keeps now down on the side of HeroesHearth. Only 1 down on the side of Tempo Storm. Those catapults did hold in that top lane. That Zerg wave you know, we don't get to see a lot of Brax's holdout, especially since the changes. So estimating like a 0% wave, much stronger than it used to be, but the percentage amount, we're still adapting here.
I was looking at that, I was like, I was for sure that'll eventually get a split push, and then now looking at it like halfway through, I was like, yeah, it just died and did nothing. That is not a true statement at all. My bad there. Yeah, it is a while since we've seen the Braxis holdout. But either way, the fact that there was no split pressure, even with that, Tempo Storm did an amazing job with that siege. And if anything, I think gives more credit towards Tempo Storm on what they were able to make happen with their Zerg Rush. Jao, even if this game, as the series moves forward, I am scared for HeroesHearth. They are showing that they are unwilling to make the decisions that I feel like made them as a roster what they used to be able to do from behind, where they go, this is our best fight, take it. They aren't willing to do as often when from ahead. Last right's on to Crowin, and the passive gets the kill.
It's not enough to end the game just yet, but if they get one more beyond this, because Falstad dealing with those up in the top, he's trying to buy time. He needs help over here. We'll see if Tempo Storm will be willing to maybe push. There's catapults mounting in each lane.
Just spawned. They have no Gus anymore. They just watch that Gus happen to the top lane. They just watch that Gus go down, and they know that the Arthlon can't make anything happen for another 40. So this is a 4 versus 5. No Gus. Boss opportunity. Let's find out how this works out.
There's going to be the Slowing Sands buying time for now. The Slowing Sands zoning out, but Ishbu and team starting to make their way in. It looks like Tempo Storm might be leashing this boss. See if HeroesHearth is willing to concede that, but Tempo Storm behind the Tranquility looking to re-engage as the boss still sitting around 25% health.
And June brought that Tranquility with that 20 talent spec into that as well, so that is a huge loss, the fact that he specs into that and they don't have that for this next team fight. Catapults are mounting on the top lane, therefore Tempo Storm. Stormbolt's going to land onto the back line as they move in to this boss yet to be taken. The Warden's Cage drops. Arthlon is not there. 5 seconds on the Gus. Ladies and gentlemen, 3. Taunt comes through. Hammer thrown down by McIntyre. The boss.
Here comes the BFG.
Goes over to
the BFG from downtown.
Hearth Esports get the boss. They throw it from downtown. Deckard is lost. Ishbu is going to be unable to make it out of here, I believe. Jao, HeroesHearth win, but do they really? What are they going to make happen here?
We're going to find out. We're going to find out right now, because that boss will warrant a response at this stage of the game. We're talking 28 minutes. There's catapults there, but there's not a lot standing between it and the keep. And now HeroesHearth making their way up, trying to get the double beacon pressure. They realize we're going to leave Mouthdale to deal with this. They know that the Zerg wave is far more deadly at this stage of the game. They can't give up the Zerg wave. They can give up a minor push from that boss, even if they lose the keep, which seems incredibly likely at this point. It's time. It's time to throw down.
Time's up. Let's do this. Taunt and the Dwarf Toss already used. McIntyre with the hammer. That is not very many cooldowns left for Cattle. Does he have the rewind to turn around, throw down the Thunderclap? McIntyre picking up the bottom for himself while Fan securing top. Glarong doing his best to get rid of that boss, but he will be back joining the rest of the ranks of Tempo Storm here in a matter of moments. Using that level 1, Deckard is back online. Tempo trying to make something happen. Ishbu not in tether range yet.
71, 82%. Everybody's taking some core damage. I really wonder if we'll get any type of backdoor opportunity. 55% bonus damage on that lightning rod, and the boss almost took down the shields there. There's a threat at any moment for these teams, and it all comes down to the Zerg wave. There is nothing standing in the way on either side of this map. It's going to come down to one team fight. One major misstep by any player in this game will be a drastically different game.
But look at the double split pressure. Glarong actually flanking between Arthlon and McIntyre towards that top half, and here you see Fan sharking around, questioning if he can make his way up. Epic Mount is going to allow Arthlon to be able to escape these situations far better than he ever could. Glarong just ridding of the catapults, trying to make those weak so those do not get damage towards that top lane, and that is something that HeroesHearth needs to start worrying about here, because Tempo is worried about building catapults, whereas HeroesHearth is very much not, and that might be that split pressure that puts them in a lose-lose scenario here at the end of Brax's holdout. But now bottom controlled by HeroesHearth, looking to pick up top.
Falstad's going to show on the bottom to try and clear up that camp so that they don't lose into that pressure bot lane. They still control the bottom beacon. We already see the rotation down by Maiev. Mouthdale looking for a flank potential, going to be met by McIntyre along the way. And now that that's shown, Falstad will be a target. Does easily have multiple disengage opportunities.
That's a
flies up.
Huge win to be able to get the Epic Mount there without even drawing any major cooldown from Tempo Storm. Tempo, now you know you have about 45 seconds that you have the opportunity to just force. You need to be able to get Arthlon or at least HeroesHearth into a tough situation that you know you can get that Warden's Cage all in.
You get your camp, we'll get ours. You get that beacon, we'll get this one down here. Don't worry. The merry-go-round, the ring around the Rosie will continue here
How I hate to break it to you, but that ends with everybody dying. Which one of these teams ends up remaining on top of those kind of carcasses at the end of that dour poem? It's more of a child song, but you get the gist.
You're savage.
Top picked up for HeroesHearth. Catapult's now being backdoor cleared. That was what I was talking about a little bit when it comes to the Catapult pressure outwards. I like that Arthlon is focused on that. Not willing to get the back. Honestly, this is really clever from Arthlon. Way more confident than I would ever suggest anybody at home. But the fact that he was willing to do that and backdoor another wave is only because he has the Epic Mount. And this might be the, again, make or break kind of moments here. Because those Catapults and getting those distractions is going to matter. There's the Mount. Interesting choice.
The back and forth. Look at the rotation by Tempo. They're worried of even a backdoor, period. And right now, we continue as we approach 32 minutes, the standoff. I mean, at what point is anybody willing to give?
Right now, this is it. Everybody's making their way top, J-How.
Making my way up top.
Trying to team fight.
Boss is available if anybody wants to get really crazy. We've already seen some epic boss fights. We'll see if we get another. Right now, Beacon progress, just not a single percentage point coming in there as we continue the rotation.
Seriously, we need the Great Migration, just constant transfer here. Arthlon still on bottom. Nobody going to make the move to be able to try and make a play onto him quite yet. Bottom now being picked up for HeroesHearth as Tempo gained 2% for themselves. 2% more than we've seen in a while. Double Catapult stack on bottom, but that's not going to be a problem with that cap.
Cattle does have rewind. Remember that. If he chooses to engage, you have Divine Steed on the other side. All right, implementing a rule right now. Oh, here we go. Catapult misses the stun.
Arthlon has not getting the epic flight towards top. Keep in mind, if he does, he might just gust offensively. But if he flies into that shrub onto a Chromie trap, he's going to be just dead. Not committing quite yet. Ishbu 8 in first trap.
False stat again. He's going to clear out another wave. It's going to warrant a response, but Ishbu, he's stuck in a hard space here as there's going to be the stun. The follow-up there is going to be there. The last right isn't going to be enough. It is not enough. Able to walk away for now, but now they're getting tethered back in. Cattle trying to make plays, and here we go. Arthlon already on the core. We're going to have to keep an eye on that in a moment. McIntyre the first to fall. Arthlon unable to complete the back door as the fight reigns here, but he's going back in.
Yeah, they need to be able to stop the backs as best as they can. He needs 2 minion waves, and now with Ishbu possibly going down there, the tether pulling back along with the scroll ceiling, and Caterpillar made it back. Arthlon cannot end this game with Murden, the best hero, to be able to stop this backdoor attempt there. HeroesHearth Esports, after a constant cycling of pressure here, now again seem to be falling apart under Tempo, but Tempo needs to get a hold of that beacon percentage. Arthlon will be backdooring one of them. The question is which of those two?
All I know is at this stage of the game, it seems like the death timers are long enough that beacon progress should definitely be there, but we already have Deckard. All it takes is you to step on it anymore. You don't have to full control to get it to half point. You just have to step on it. See if June can get, well, I was going to say, is he going up? He already tried to Moonfire once. Arthlon getting control of the bottom here. And it's buying time. It's allowing the rest of the team to get involved. If you give up the Zerg wave at any point, we're talking 34, 35 minutes, the Zerg wave at this stage of the game, I think it's indefensible. I mean, if you don't have any structures in the way, outside of maybe a Gul'dan and a Sylvanas on the same team.
Yeah. Arthlon's going to take a lot of damage there. Tether back is maybe not the optimal situation. Surely more damage should have been traded onto Arthlon there. He burns the epic out.
He's going to find a Murd and right on top of him.
But McIntyre
trying to get the leg down. Gets him the armor, but there's the rewind. Cattle's like, team, get on my back. It is time as they take control. The rest of HeroesHearth, they're going to make their way up, but it might be too little too late as Maiev coming in on the backside as well.
Yeah, we're about to see Crowan have to be able to deal with that. Vin actually eating the BFG. Ishbu lands the taunt. The last rights goes down, and BBJ survives there into the fray, throwing him out. Crowan trying to cut away, but the Fan of Knives coming out from Fan is going to be enough to get that first kill. Ishbu is just stalling out what seems like the inevitable there with BBJ because Tempo Storm find the 3 kills, hold off on Brax's holdout, and after 35, almost 36 minutes, they are able to take game number 2 and even out this series 1-1 against HeroesHearth.
I think these teams might have watched too much Europe earlier today.
Yeah, my goodness. Woo, I'm all for taking a note out of Europe page and kind of playbook. But that middle of the pack 30 minutes, games like that, I am down with not seeing. My goodness. 35 minutes, Jay, on what most people would say, debatably one of the easiest, shortest battlegrounds we have.
That fly up and Caterpillar is just like, his eyes must, I mean, I would love to be in those comps just to hear what Cattle says, because you could see Arthon just sat there. He literally stopped moving, and he's like, I'm going to bait him. He took off flying, and then literally right on top of Caterpillar. And Cattle's just like, I've got rewind, I'm Murden. And that sealed the deal right there.
It did. And before all the craziness happened, I think the biggest tell and things that I have when looking at these games is, seriously, if this continues, this trend of being afraid to end a game, that is a big problem for North America. That is our #1 seed, is afraid to just go, we can end this game. It sounds a lot like, I don't know, a lot of North America up until Tempo Storm found their way to be stable at the top of North American scene. Whenever those teams get those expectations, and then suddenly it becomes, we should know how to do this, we should know how to do this, and it becomes like a just run until they get into a lose-lose. Better teams never find themselves in it, and I just can't help but feel like Games 1 and 2, even though it's a 1-1 series, I look at this and I go, Tempo Storm probably going to win this series because HeroesHearth is afraid to win these games. It's very concerning. It's not come to light here, but I think moving forward, if HeroesHearth doesn't look towards these things and why those things end up happening, I think they're going to be struggling. All of North America, for that matter.
We're just getting started in this series. We are going to see if Tempo Storm can pull off the upset here. But first, we're going to take a commercial break, and we'll be right back with Tempo Storm versus HeroesHearth.